Hello everyone, how are you doing? Good morning. Okay, so today's topic is building tomorrow's platform with uh, cloud native stack. So, how many of you already heard about the platforms, or maybe maybe let's start like this. So, how many of you are DevOps or SRE or cloud engineers in the room? Okay, so many. And apart from that, if I'm guessing, so those are backend or software engineers. Okay, any other criteria we're missing? Maybe the other rules that are present here. Anyone? So many of the students are there. Okay, cool. So maybe let me introduce myself because many of you don't know me because it's not like I always been in Gurgaon or Delhi for the talks and all because I'm from Jaipur. Okay, so yeah, this is Soni. Currently, I'm working at Forrester as a DevOps engineer too. Before this, I was working at Red Hat, and before that, Sears and other companies. So yeah, I'm one of the CNCF ambassador, and I'm another community builder, and I'm leading AWS user group Jaipur, CNCF Jaipur, other community groups for the Jaipur team, and you can find Grafana also in the same stack. And I have done many of certifications and talks and different places. So maybe you can just check it out over the LinkedIn and other places. So before we start, maybe all of you had the one question like in the mind, why the cloud native is becoming so buzzword nowadays, right? Because everywhere you see like it's going around cloud native or maybe CNCF, how the open source is growing, how the things are becoming and growing. So but means like you must be having a lot of questions around that. यार क्लाउड नेटिव है बट टर्म्स तो है ठीक है बट व्हाई इट्स सो मच ग्रोइंग कि वी आर able to listen a lot of terms AI ops ML ops containers microservices and all but how these are coming so if you see like currently in the market like cloud native is everywhere so it's not about I'm not saying like uh, if you go any places or any IT stack you will find open source tool there and then it's related to cloud native only so maybe it's platforms and maybe it's related to microservices, it's related to scalability or containerization or AI ops, ML ops or anything. So you will find like CNCF stack is everywhere. And this is a picture of many of you because what happens is like whenever maybe you are doing your office work, if you are in your organization, what happens like you are doing your work, maybe let's say you are a data engineer and as a data engineer, you are working on your tools, maybe your Azure stack or anything. Apart from that, you heard the terms while scrolling LinkedIn. Okay, this particular term is getting so popular, platform engineering. Or maybe there's another term that's coming so popular. Okay, on the time, what you thought is like, I am running behind the race. Yeah, I am missing all of these things. Why I don't know DevOps, DevSecOps, AI Ops. So even though you are a DevOps engineer, you feel like I'm not secure. You feel like I need to learn AI to get the more good pay or to get the good promotion or get the new job, etc. So on the time your situation like this because you must be stressed about all of the terms or the new terms in coming in market and that's the need I would say to attend these kind of events and maybe join community groups because you need to learn you get to learn a lot of stuff from the speakers or maybe when you come here you actually bond with people you actually create your own contributions to the communities so that's why there's a need and okay, so let's come to the main point, like why cloud native is coming so buzzword. So if you see these reports, so this is from the President's research, and what they're predicting is like, so currently 2025, the USD market for the cloud native is 7.45 billion, but that's expected to grow by 2034 is around 62.72 billion. So that's so huge. If you see the like how the this graph is growing, so that's how the jobs, that's how the market will grow for the cloud native stuff. So that's the main reason like you need to learn this today itself instead of waiting for it or maybe instead of waiting for tomorrow. And if you see like whatever applications are coming today's world, like maybe if you see like Zepto, Blinkit, or any other application that's delivering you things so faster, maybe in 4 to 5 minute delivery they are doing. So how they are able to get to know like okay, so you are just picking a product and at the same time they know like which next product you will be taking in, and they have all service inventory working like that. So behind the scenes, they all are integrated or using the whole open source stack and building their platforms. Okay, so if you see like currently in market, every new tool that is coming that's using 80% of them are building on cloud native. Okay, cloud native stack, it can be, so Kubernetes will be there, but apart from Kubernetes, there are lots of tools. We will discuss them later on. So in this talk, we will be discussing today like what is cloud native, because that's the main term, or I would say the main question you might be having in mind. We will just not go deeper, but I will just give you overview, and then we will see like why the future is platforms, and how CNCF stack you can use to build your own platform, or like what are the tools available there and all of those stuff. Then maybe we can jump to crossplane.io. So crossplane is again a CNCF project, incubating projects that actually you can use to build your own platforms. And then we can see a lot of stuff like maybe understanding it, and there is some architecture demo I'll be showing you. Okay. Uh, okay, so what is cloud native? So anyone from the audience want to answer it? Like we do have on the screen, but still, from your understanding, what you know about cloud native is anyone? He said so rightly, but थोड़ा कुछ और addition मिल जाता तो अच्छा रहता. Okay, so cloud native is like, so basically, let's say you have your infrastructure ready. Now it's your choice where you want to deploy it. It can be public cloud, it can be private cloud, it can be your on-prem. When you go to public cloud providers, there are lots of private providers. When you go to private cloud, there's a lot of private providers are there. Maybe you can use OpenStack, you can use other stuff. And when it comes to on-prem, it's on you. So cloud native is like maybe it's, you can say cloud native. The CNCF mission is to make everything is ubiquitous. So it's like if any software is built, it should be run anywhere. It's not about where you're running it, and in any cloud provider. So when you say cloud native, so the any software should be native to run any cloud platform. Okay, so when you see in this diagram, so the you can say the cloud provider can be anything. It can be public, private, or your on-prem. The application should be able to run anywhere. So that's the main motto here, like the cloud native. And if you see like the application type, so it can be your containers, it can be service mesh, microservices, your serverless, or any kind of application be there. Okay. So if you see in the cloud infrastructure, we do have microservices, we do have modern designs, containers, backend services, or automation stuff is there. So all of these are just, I would say, the pillars for the cloud native infrastructure or cloud native apps. Okay, so that's what cloud native is. And like this is so like common thing, I guess most of you already know this. So we have moved from monolithic approach to the microservices. And when you say about microservices, then the cloud native stuff that you have to dig in, because so if you see back behind like 10 or 5 years back, and even today's also, some of the like applications running like that only, because according to their use. So monolithic is like, let's say you do have your own three-tier application, you do have different components of the same, and from the different components, what you're doing is like you are creating different servers, and on those servers you're running these applications. Okay, so these are the monolithics. But now when we are coming to microservices, so we are just creating containers. We have just divided all of our applications to different parts, and those parts we are deploying over the cloud or anywhere. Okay, so that's why like because of cloud native, we are just easy, it's easy to manage. Not like complexity will be increased, but at the same time you can serve more people, you can handle more traffic gradually. Okay, so that's why the monolithic to microservices we are able to come because of cloud native approach. Okay, everything about cloud native is like good, but how about the platform engineering? Anyone knows about this, about the platform or the platform engineering? Anyone from the audience? Okay, yeah, please. Got it. Yeah, that's so correct actually. So they say like about the platform is like a particular place there where they can go, they can just set the components and take the whatever rules or whatever things they want to take. So let's take this by example. So maybe let's say you are a student, or maybe let's say you are an intern. You joined a company. What you want to do is the first thing you do is you need to get a server where you will be working. So then you need to place some request to the IT team or any team, like I need this request, I need this permissions to access the cloud or to these services. Later on, day by day, when you grow, what you need to do is like you need to check on the stuff like I need permissions to deploy services now. Like maybe I need to deploy EC2, I need to deploy S3 on the time. You will need these permissions, and after a time, what will happen is like these requests will go to the other teams, maybe cloud team, DevOps team, or SRE teams, because as a backend developer or as a software engineer, you don't much learn about cloud, but at the same time, you just send a request to the other teams, like you just collaborate with the other teams. But if you take the same thing to the platforms, what if there is a UI? You can go there and whatever things you needed, let's say you wanted to deploy EC2 or you wanted to deploy S3 bucket, you just select it from the UI, and at the last, you just submit it. And after submitted, Everything is automated behind the scenes. There is no ops team is there. There's no DevOps or SRE team is there. Everything will be deployed according to your request. Okay, so they will be approving the request. So that's how platforms is. So and that's how platform engineering is building. So the building the platforms, we are using a lot of tools in like in the behind the scenes. So if you see here, we do have here all of the cloud providers, a lot of like the open source tool from the CNCF stack is already there. So when you build a platform, actually it's a combination of different I would say stack. Okay, so that's why we are saying we are using a CNCF stack to build the whole platform. So that's how actually it works. So as I said, there's the app team, there's the infosec team, there's the ops team. Everyone just connected with the same, I would say, a middleware, and that's the platform. So everyone send the request to the platform, and platform do the stuff for you. Maybe you need to do infrastructure provisioning, you need to run some pipelines, you need to create some pipelines, or maybe you want to run some test cases, okay, something like that. So everything you will be able to do from the same platform. And how it's being done is like you have just accessed one platform and you're giving all of the things you needed when you are requesting it. Okay, so we say it's like IDPs to the platforms, like internet developer platform, and that's how platform engineering is doing. So basically you can develop and maintain your own IDP. Okay, so when it comes to CNCF stack, so yeah, Ankit already showed the CNCF landscape, but let's go through with that so quickly. So if you see here, we do have CNCF landscape here. Okay, so you can find it easily. Just go to landscape.cncf.io, or maybe you can just type CNCF landscape. And over this landscape, you can find a lot of tools are available. Okay, let me do just. Okay, so if you see here, we do have in the like landscape, we do have a lot of tools are available from starting from application definition, from CI/CD, or if you go to database. So no matter what's you needed, you will find a lot of open source tools available here. And there are two kind of open source tool you can find here. Some of them are CNCF projects, and some of them are not. So if you want to filter them out, you can just go here and click on this CNCF projects, and you will find any project that is archived, graduated, incubated, or sandbox. Okay, and once you apply this filter, you will find only CNCF projects are there. And according to your need, like you can just go to any particular stream and you can just find the things. So yep, that's one. And from all of these stack, we are just picking one tool today, and that's Crossplane. So anyone knows about Crossplane before today? Yep, please. So what is Crossplane? Maybe where you used it actually.
Right. I talked about it during my introduction actually. So Crossplane is for people who do not know infrastructure as code. If you might have heard of Terraform, it's similar to that, but brings a lot more capabilities. It's Kubernetes native, where you host everything into your Kubernetes cluster as CRDs, and you can build platform and self-service capabilities on
Yep.
top of it using multi-tenant architecture.
Cool. Yeah, that is so true. Like maybe have a some clap for Sky. That's so cool. Because if you see like Crossplane, so it actually give you capability to build your own CRDs. Okay, so custom resource definitions. Okay, so what you can do is you have your Kubernetes cluster. Now what we are doing is कि like किसने AWS पे कुछ भी बनाया है, like you go to console, you just created a EC2 or S3 or something like that, all of those stuff. Everyone must have done it, right? तो अभी क्या सीन है ना कि तुम जा रहे हो कंसोल पे, यू आर रिक्वेस्टिंग और यू आर क्लिकिंग एंड देन क्रिएटिंग द रिसोर्स. The same thing we can do by code. That's for called IAC, infrastructure as a code, and that's a tool available, Terraform. Now Terraform में तुम क्या करते हो ना, like you write the basically YAMLs, or I would say the Terraform YAMLs to deploy any infrastructure you want. But now in Terraform you need to maintain a state file. Like जो भी तुमने Terraform में जो भी बनाया है, उसका state एक maintain होगा, and according to that state, it will be actually checking कि cloud पे क्या है और Terraform में क्या है अभी, and according to that your resources will be changing. Now let's come to the next thing, that is it's again next step from Terraform, because Terraform you can maybe run from local, you can run from CI/CD, any stuff. But when it comes to Crossplane, it's like I would say advanced version of the same. So what it does is it creates control planes. So if you see here, Crossplane is a cloud native control plane framework. So what is the control plane? Control plane is something कि तुम्हें instead of managing multiple things, you need to manage only one stuff, that is Kubernetes. So you just go to Kubernetes, you just check the Crossplane also there. So what you can do is you can just deploy, or you can just create or all of the resources on the cloud with help of Crossplane itself. or I would say only from Kubernetes. So what you have to do is you will be creating your Kubernetes cluster, and from that Kubernetes cluster, you can manage all of the cloud resources. Even if you want to create your S3 bucket, you want to create your Lambda functions, or maybe any stuff you want to do, you can do from Kubernetes cluster itself. This sounds so interesting, right? क्योंकि हमने कुबरनेट्स पे क्या किया, हमने पॉड्स बनाए, डिप्लॉयमेंट बनाई है, या फिर हमने कुछ कुछ बनाई है. बट व्हाट इफ आई टेल यू लाइक तुम कुबरनेट्स से S3 बकेट भी लॉन्च कर सकते हो. You can even create a EC2 instance. You can log in there. You can do stuff. You want to run some pipelines. You can do that also from Kubernetes itself. So that capability is actually given by the crossplane to Kubernetes. Okay, and this helps to basically when you create a platform. So let's understand crossplane, like है क्या और कैसे work करता है. So if you see, like it enables multi-cloud deployments. So let's say you have one Kubernetes cluster and you are managing 3 cloud providers at the same time. You want to deploy stuff on the Azure, you want to deploy on the AWS and Google Cloud. You can do that, okay, with the help of Crossplane. And it's again open source project, so it's so easy to manage. You don't have to worry about much things, and there's a whole community to support you. Like you are facing any issues, just go to Crossplane, reply your issues, put the issue there, and community will help you. Or there are a lot of similar issue you will find. Okay, and it's basically allow organization to deploy and manage resources from Kubernetes. That's what we discussed. And again, Kubernetes API to manage provision infrastructure. So this is the coolest thing I would say, because from Kubernetes, if you can manage the whole infra, then you don't have to take care of other stuff, right? Again, Kubernetes turns into a universal cross plane. So it's like, or a universal control plane, I would say. So it's like the whole Kubernetes cluster will be a control plane. If you want to take care of infra, you want to take care of CI/CD or any stuff, just go to your single point of thing, that is the Kubernetes. So let's discuss about crossplane versus the rest, because as there's a Terraform, there's other IAC tools are coming. So why crossplane is different from them? The first thing is like it's have automated healing capabilities. So the like let's say you have deployed one EC2 instance. Now what, like someone go in there, someone deleted the instance. Okay, if you have created the rules in crossplane, so it will recreate the instance according to the rules it's like written there. So the same way Kubernetes apps heals itself, like जो भी deployments होती है, अगर let's say you have defined 3 pods, 3 में से 2 running है, तो third वाला try करेगा पाने का. Okay, the same way the resources will be controlled. Dynamic provisioning. Okay, so let's say you have your resources deployed. Now what you want to do is कि तुम्हें instead of deploying at the one place, you're deploying at the multiple place at the same time. Instead of requesting one EC2, I want 100 EC2 at the same time. You can do that. Just change the number from 1 to 100, something like that. Policy based governance. So इसमें क्या होता है ना कि let's say you have multiple teams. You have multiple teams working on the same Kubernetes cluster, and they want to deploy some infrastructure. So Crossplane give you the RBAC permission. You can define rule-based access control. You can give rules to different teams, or according to their rules, they will do the stuff. And there's the CI/CD integration, and you don't have to worry about the state file. कि state file miss हो गई तो मेरे infra क्या होगा? There is no state file. तुम्हें कोई issue नहीं करेगा उसका भी. And there's a custom resource and in-house tooling. So you're creating your own platform, so it's upon you how you want to take it forward. Okay. Let's understand this also. So how many of you already worked or used Kubernetes?
One question, please.
Yeah, please.
The question is what you talked about the state file.
Yes.
It's actually, yeah, you need to worry about state, but in a different way, because
Yeah, that's in a different way. But I'm not going deeper into that because
we should probably cover that, because that may be misleading.
yeah, that may be misleading. But instead of explaining now, I will explain it the demo part. So that should be good. Yep. I was noticing that.
Okay.
You are taking an eyes on that part. Not an issue. So okay. So how many of you already worked on Kubernetes? Okay, many of you. So yeah, it will be then easy to understand for all of you. And whoever have not maybe not known on Kubernetes or haven't worked on that, maybe what you can do is like just try to understand this, and when you go back, just try to again go from the Kubernetes architecture, and at the same time just try to learn about crossplane. So at least some of them things you will be able to know. So what happens like when you deploy crossplane on the Kubernetes? So we will start from this part. If you see here, we have a control loop. So control loop is like it observe your definition or the whatever XR or XRDs you have written. So it's like whatever definition you have written. Let's say तुमने बोला कि मुझे एक S3 bucket चाहिए था, and the name is should be this. So this particular control loop will observe it first, and according to difference, whatever difference is coming, it will just act. So this control loop actually it's just reconciling loop. So it's keep running. It will check your resource set. It will check how it's present, and then accordingly it will act on the resources. Now let's come to the main architecture. So if you see here, we do have one particular management Kubernetes cluster. So it's like the whole EKS cluster you can take care of, and we do have here cross-plane. So this particular part you can take as a core component. So we do have here core and provider AWS. So as we have provider AWS in crossplane, you can find a lot of providers available there. So if you go to crossplane.io, you will find this particular website is there. So that's the first thing I would say, like start from. Give me a moment. Okay, it should be okay. Cool. Yeah. So this is the main website that you can start from. So if you see, it's like already like we already talked about this. The cloud native control plane framework. That's the cross plane, and we do have here like the whole documentation. So if you want to install, upgrade, or maybe you want to try something, so just go with the getting started, and that's what we will be following today. The AWS Kickstart, like the I would say in the demo. So what it will do is like it will just show you how to create or maybe a particular S2 bucket over the EKS cluster. So from this you can check like it just walking you through like how to install crossplane with the help of Helm, and then it will be creating some provider configs and all. Okay. And as we talked about, like there are lots of providers. So if you see, you can find any provider here. So currently we are talking about the AWS. So let's search for AWS. So you can find for AWS there are a lot of provider according to what's your need. Okay. And the same way, if you want to go with the GCP, so you can search for GCP providers. So you can find the providers for GCP, or maybe there are lots of available providers are there from Upbound. Okay. So that's for this. Okay, so let's come again back to the architecture. So we do have here provider, we do have here core components. Now we do have here managed cluster rules. So it's like uh, when you deploy crossplane, so it will be coming with different pods, or I would say different components of it, and some of them are like so these three components will send request or get request from the XRDs and XR. So what are these? So XR is the composite resources, and the above is composite resource definition. So you can take it like you want to deploy one EC2 instance, or you want to deploy one S3 bucket. So that is your resource. Okay, so that is your resource. Like I want to create a resource, so that's my resource. And for creating the resource, what definition I am writing? मुझे ये बनाना है, लेकिन what should be the name, what should be the size, or what should be the parameter tags and all. So that will be your definitions. And accordingly, these XR XRDs request will go to your managed cluster and rules, because this will take care of what you are trying to achieve and how it should go to the cross-plane side. And according to the request will go to the provider AWS. So basically, whatever resource you want to create, you create a XR. In the XRD, you give the definitions of that, and according to whatever definition you have given, it will be taken care of by the cross-plane. Okay. Now, if you see, we do have a separation here, and in this separation, we have defined two claims. So let's take the example that we took before. I guess if you see this one, so we do have different teams here, like app team, security team, or DevSecOps team, or whatever. Now let's say different teams are requesting different type of resources. So we should have a separation कि यार अगर किसी ने कोई एक टीम ने कोई रिसोर्स मांगा है, तो वी शुड ओनली प्रोवाइड दैट रिसोर्स टू दैट टीम, और दैट काइंड ऑफ एक्सेस टू दैट पर्टिकुलर टीम, इंस्टेड ऑफ हर टीम को एक्सेस मिले उसका. So for doing that, we just provide here one thing, that is the claims. So if you see, we do have different namespaces, and according to namespaces, we are providing the permissions. Okay. So the claim A should not be able to like the claim A resource should be different, and claim B resource should be different, something like that. And accordingly, this will be handled by crossplane. Okay, so maybe let's jump to the demo. So in this demo, what I'm going to do is like I do have one EKS cluster created already, and in that we'll be installing crossplane. And once crossplane installed, we will be creating one S3 bucket, or I would say a resource or XR we will be creating. And so the first thing we're going to do is like we will be installing AWS provider, and then we will go with the configure provider credentials. Like we need to provide the credentials for the AWS account. Once that is also done, we're going to go with the creating the provider config for the same, like what kind of config we need. Then we will deploy the provisioning S3 bucket, and then yeah, it's good to go. Like we will check the resources. So let's go. So for deploying this, like I do have already like files are available here. So if you see, this is a provider config. So this is using currently AWS provider, and if you see, the version is here already. Like it's using version. Okay, so if you see here, like what I've did is like we do have an AWS provider config. So this will be like used for creating the AWS provider over the crossplane. So it will be just creating the provider, and then we have provider config. So in provider config, what we are saying is we have just provided a AWS secret. So if you see here, we do have one AWS secret that I have passed for particular AWS account. So where I want to deploy the resources. Okay. So once that is also done, then we have S3 create YAML. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a S3 bucket over the I would say from the cross-link to AWS. Okay, so for this, we are just creating the particular S3 bucket from the cross-plane, and that should be done in EP South 1 region, and like the config ref is default. So yep, that should be good. So I do have some steps already written here. So basically we can save time and just go through a demo so quick. Okay, so let's just go with this. And if I show you the cluster thing, then it's here. Just close this too. Okay, so we do have one cluster that's here, the CNCG mixture, and in this cluster we do have two nodes. Currently, if you see, we do have one node group and two nodes already available here. So let's just go with the cluster thing. Let's just do control. Okay, I have to drop the mic because I have to type something, so my voice will be loud and you will be able to hear me. Okay, so if you see, like we are already logged in to the cluster. Okay, it's again the same issue. Let me check if we have option here. I guess we want B. Okay, okay, light theme we have. Okay, so that should be good. So currently we are logged in into the cluster with the help of like AWS EKS update config. The cluster is already done. Now what I'm gonna do is like I'll be just installing crossplane with the help of Helm charts. So it's saying Helm command not found, so we need to again install the Helm command. So let's install Helm. Installing Helm. So for installing Helm, it's saying you need to do this stuff. Let me just copy paste all of them and just paste one by one. It's gone. Let's see this. Feature manage. Four because that's the issue with this. Okay, so it's so Helm is installed now, and if we go back to our command, so we can just go and do this stuff. So if you see when we do Helm repo add, so it's added a crossplane Helm repo to our account itself. I guess it's better to see that screen because I'm already standing here. Maybe I can move like this. So if you see, like we have added Helm repo add. So this command, what it will do, it will just add a chart. Like Helm, it will add crossplane chart to your Helm repository, and then we are updating our Helm repo. And then next step, what I'm doing, I'm installing the crossplane resource. So once I'll install it, we will have the crossplane resource in another namespace that's like crossplane system, and that's where we will be having all of the resources available. So if you see, the chart is already deployed, and the revision is 1 because we deployed the first version of this particular chart. And let's check the all of the resources. So let me just go up to this. Okay. Okay, so that's where our all resources are deployed, crossplane system. So the way we talk, like we do have one crossplane RBAC, we have one crossplane main component or the core component. It's here. We do have a provider, that is the provider S3 that is already having, and then we have a bond provider family, that's AWS. So all of these resources we have got, and this is just now deployed. If you see here, okay, so we have got these resources, and if you see, like, we do have cross-plane webhooks. So these are the main, like I would say, this particular service actually talks to the cross-plane whenever you are just creating any request, or you are just writing any XRDs and all. Okay, so that's there. Now what I'm going to do is, we will be deploying our first thing, that is, we will be installing AWS provider for the crossplane. So the provider we saw earlier, I'm just gonna add it. It's already added here because I performed a demo in morning, so it should be there. But if not, it will be done. Okay, so if you see, like, it's saying unchanged because the already provider it was having, it's not changing anything, but it's deployed. Okay, so we have added a provider, S3 provider, because we are just creating S3 bucket. So that's what our need currently. So I have added that, and apart from that, if you see like AWS get providers, you will find the provider info there. So if you see, like, we do have provider AWS S3, and it's installed 3 hours back. That's what I said. Like, I have just performed a demo, so that's there. One more thing is there, like, we need to create a secret. So anywhere you need to provide AWS credentials, right? कि AWS को connect कैसे करेगा cross plane. So for that connection, we are providing here secrets also. So if you see, I'm just giving AWS secret, and with this secret, I am just passing the AWS credentials, like the security keys for your access key and all of those things. So that is also done. Then we will create a provider config. So provider config is like like you have created AWS provider, but we need S3 provider, right? But that should be also already done here. So when I'm doing this, it's saying again this is unchanged because as we saw here, S3 provider config is already available here. Or I should show you, it's yeah, one family from AWS and provider S3. So these two things were already there. Now our main thing, or the last task, is to create a S3 bucket. So for creating the S3 bucket, I'm just deploying it from the crossplane. So currently, if you see, like, the it's saying S3 bucket is created, and now if you want to check the S3 bucket, you will do like kubectl get buckets. So this particular thing should show the buckets. So from before today, I'm sure like you must have run like kubectl get pods, kubectl get deployments, or something like that. But when you work on the CRDs, when you like create like you work on the as a control plane with the cross plane and create the CRD, so you can deploy your AWS resources or any cloud resources from the cross plane. So that's why we did kubectl get buckets, and we are able to see like this bucket is created. And maybe let's check it at the same time if this bucket is already on the AWS or not. So let's go to, we are on the S3, and so if you see, currently there is no bucket. It should be coming. We are in the same region or what? Let me check.
Bucket status is saying false.
Okay, yeah, so it's not yet been done. Let's wait. Okay, there must be an issue with this one. Let's check it. So it's not synced currently. Maybe let me try to delete and recreate it. Okay, so currently bucket is deleted. So we are trying to create another bucket, and again it's saying sync false. Maybe there's a bug or issue in the crossplane side. Okay, this is all good. Okay, so it's currently sync false. That's why I guess we are not able to see any buckets here. But like most of the time, what happens? Let me show you like what I tried on that time. So that will give you a whole scenario. Like, so after we just create a bucket, the bucket should be created, and you will find like the bucket is created, and maybe the same way you can delete the resource also. You can delete the bucket, and bucket should be deleted from the same control plane. And yep, that's how like you can manage the resources from cross plane to your AWS or maybe other cloud providers. So for this, I guess that's all from my end. Thank you so much. Maybe we can connect. We can. I'm here till 3 p.m. so we can chat more about it if you have more questions. Thank you.